Hello there, my fellow gamers on a budget. So if you've been following this channel, then you know that we have made a lot of Mortal Kombat 11 prediction videos, a lot of Mortal Kombat 11 gameplay reveal videos, and just a lot of Mortal Kombat 11 videos altogether. So I've had to use a lot of Mortal Kombat X footage as filler. So I have all this excess Mortal Kombat X footage. What do I do with it? Well, that's when I had the brilliant idea of why don't I make a review for Mortal Kombat X. Mortal Kombat X is the 10th in the series, and it's not really my favorite installment. Mortal Kombat 9, or the reboot Mortal Kombat as it's called, is my favorite installment, which came just before this, and I'm going to explain why later in this review. But for now, let's get to the game at hand, Mortal Kombat X. Mortal Kombat X was developed in 2015 by NetherRealm Studios and Warner Bros. It is a fictional fighting game, kind of a fantasy fighting game that deals with different realms and a Mortal Kombat tournament. Although in Mortal Kombat X it sort of strays away from the original storyline, as it is the second in a reboot storyline. It was a time-lapse reboot also, just to kind of go back to that. It was a time-lapse reboot as in, it wasn't a strong reboot where they totally ignored the prequels, but it was a reboot where they took the prequels and sort of messed with time to get us to our current storyline. So with that, now that you have an understanding of what Mortal Kombat X is, even though you should have before you started the video, I'm going to get to why this game is good. So, what makes this game good, although it's not really the best installment, what makes this game good is the fighting structure. It's the same, but it's different, character to character. And what I mean by the fighting structure is, the moves and the controls. Backward B, or backward circle, is a trip for every single character. And it goes across all the characters as the same moves. X is always to punch, Y is always to throw a slightly stronger punch, A and B are to kick, or if you're using PlayStation, X and circle are to kick, and square and triangle are to punch. So it works for everybody the same way like that. So it's a very good structure. So this game kind of relies on you having skill and speed, which is better than previous versions of Mortal Kombat where you could honestly win the whole game by grabbing or using the same move over and over in kind of a cheap way. If you ever played Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, it was sort of plagued with that. It's also 2D as opposed to 3D, and I feel like that's a really, really good change, because the 3D versions of the Mortal Kombat games just were not very good. You could basically walk away from your opponent and make the match last forever. So this is a very good 2D version of this fighting game. It also focuses on your knowledge of the character, such as combos. Combos are really, really kind of OP, but I'm going to get to that and why this game sucks here in a minute. So that's kind of all I got to say about that. There's some new stuff in the storyline. For example, there's new QuickTime events, like in God of War, where you have to click certain buttons at certain times during the cutscenes. It makes the cutscenes not feel just like a boring movie. You have to be holding the controller and paying attention. It's actually a really, really welcome and neat change that they've made to the storyline of Mortal Kombat, and this storyline really, really needed something to freshen it up, so that kind of does it. So those are all the big things that make this game really good. The fighting gameplay and the graphics are obviously really good, as it is the newest installment, but those are kind of small things, in my opinion, as towards all the bad things, which are kind of a lot. So I'm going to get into what makes this game bad. So, first off, the online mode in this game. The online mode in this game is dominated by combos and repetition. Basically, if you're a pro, then you know that you're just fighting with combos back and forth. One person performs a combo, you try to block it, you get a chance to perform your combo, they try to block it, and it's kind of just the same thing happening over and over. It really takes a lot of the spontaneousness out of the gameplay of Mortal Kombat, whereas in Mortal Kombat 9, so many things could go wrong with your combos, and you could throw in different moves that all worked. I mean, it was just a better version of fighting, in my opinion. So, combos dictate online play, and it kind of ruins online play in general, because most people online have tapped into that, and they just do that. There's a lack of playable, enjoyable modes in this game. You're always going to be doing the same thing in this game. The only things that are really different than the main fighting, single fights, you know, one person versus another person, Mortal Kombat, it is test your might, test your luck, and the towers. And the towers are still just single fights, one after the other, but they have living towers, which are basically towers that get updated every single month, I believe, or maybe it was every 2 weeks, I'm not sure, but they get updated so you always have a little bit more content, but it's still the same gameplay mode no matter what you do. Test Your Luck is probably the most different diversion from this gameplay mode, because you actually can change some of the settings in there. Another thing that I really didn't like is the lackluster storyline. I mean, you can just say it. The storyline's lackluster. Mortal Kombat 9's storyline was really good. Mortal Kombat Armageddon's storyline was really good. It had really good moments, really good gameplay. And so them leading off with this, it's just lackluster. It's not that it's not good, but it fails to its predecessors. It has a lot of plot holes in it. And my biggest nitpick plot hole is an introduction of a character known as Devora. Devora was supposed to be there the entire time, dating back to Mortal Kombat 1, but when you apply that to the storyline, it kind of leaves you with a lot of plot holes, and plus I just really didn't like that character. They underused their QuickTime events in the cutscenes. I really do like the QuickTime events in the cutscenes where you're clicking different buttons while things happen, but they don't do them enough. There's a lot of cutscenes where they could have put them in that they just didn't, and I feel like it really underplayed the value of having that in your game engine, and overall it just kind of lessens the game. Another thing that's not really good or bad, but I want to throw it in there before I get to the conclusion, is they spent a lot of time building up this new crypt mode, where you run through the crypt, spending the coins you made in story mode or in single fights or online. You spend the coins in the crypt to get certain things you want. It's kind of a cash grab, because the crypt mode is sort of filled with puzzles that are really sort of hard to figure out on your own. I ended up looking a lot of them up, and it just sort of doesn't feel Mortal Kombat-y, It doesn't really fit with the spirit of Mortal Kombat to have this new crypt mode in there. It's kind of like walking through sort of a horror movie at certain times, and at other times it just feels like you're spending all your money on a really complex cemetery. They've always had a crypt mode in every single Mortal Kombat, since Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, that is. But this one is just, I don't know, more so. There's a lot more gameplay to it, and it's not my favorite. In conclusion, it's a great skill game for friends. It's fun and it's challenging, but it has extremely low replayability. I mean, you maybe will play the storyline twice, maybe. I don't see you playing it more than that unless you're just, I don't know, enthralled with it, or it's like the only game you have or something. I just don't see you playing the storyline more than twice. Amazon's price for this game is about $26, which is high over my price for this game, because my final score for this game is about $16.45. I should also note that you can find deals for this game on Amazon, but they range from about $20 to about $45. So I just sort of set the middle at $26, because that's probably what you can get it for at GameStop. That's pretty much all I got to say about Mortal Kombat X. It's a good game. I mean, I'm not biased to it. I would go ahead and give it a shot if I were you. If you've never played a Mortal Kombat game, it's a fine place to start, although I suggest you start with the much more superior prequel, Mortal Kombat 9, or as they titled it, just plain Mortal Kombat. So that's about it from us here at Gamer on a Budget. Everybody out there, save some money and keep gaming.